Alright, everybody, finally time to talk about Detective Pikachu. Why, you may be asking? Well, because I finally got a chance to see it, and also, I don't give two shits about John Wick or Aladdin. So yeah, let's just get right into this movie. As many of you may remember, I didn't really like the first trailer for the film, and in hindsight, I still don't like that first trailer. But one thing the marketing material started doing after that first trailer was it decided that we're just going to market this movie as the weirdest blockbuster of the year. Like, every form of promotional material that came out of that had really random but still energetic songs. They started showing off all these crazy visuals. The marketing made a smart decision and to just focus on the Pokemon. It wasn't like, say, the Sonic trailer where it's just focused on showing parents. It's just the generic crap you go to all the time. This movie generally wanted you to believe it was about this weird world and this weird talking hamster and just sort of the crazy adventure they go on. And fortunately, that's where the movie really shines. Anytime the movie is just based around showing you cool Pokemon and showing you what the world is like and letting Ryan Reynolds just give us a PG Deadpool, it really worked. I couldn't believe it. I think this might be, for me at least, the most best, well-realized fictional world brought to live action maybe ever. Like, every detail in this movie is just based around showing you that this is the world of Pokemon. And I couldn't believe when they pulled it off. Like, the way you see Pokemon interact with the environment, the way you see them interact with humans, the way the city is based around having humans and Pokemon together is really freaking insane. Like, there's so much detail, and always something is going on in a shot. Rather it's Apom goofing around on a building, rather it's a Machamp doing a job, rather it's all this stuff. Like, there's just always crap going on, and so often than not, movies screw that up. The Star Wars prequels is always like the big example of a film that just had too much going on, too much dense CGI, it was distracting. But the difference between that and this is that in this movie, all the CGI has its own personality and character to it and serves purposes of world building. In the Star Wars prequels, it's just too many fucking cars whizzing in the background. But in this movie, there's just so much detail and so much personality, but it all makes sense. Cities are large, congested places that have a lot going on, and your senses are just pulled in every direction, and the movie's not afraid to do that. It just all the time. And the CGI on the Pokemon. Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'd say as far as ones I liked versus ones I didn't like, it was pretty hit or miss, but it always sort of felt like it was trying to capture a sense of personality and a sense of charm and intrigue into what Pokemon are. And I felt like that always shined through. And when there is action, it's fun. This is obviously predominantly a comedy, but I just felt like this film really captured that fun sense of what a world feels like. A world that has these sort of superpowered creatures everywhere. And I like that they're not just animals. They're made out to be like higher levels of intelligence and the way they can bond and connect with humans. It really worked to give the film a ton of charm and personality. Which is good, because none of that comes from its actors. Okay, look, everyone's kicking the performances in this movie in the teeth. I will say this, I don't think anyone necessarily turns in a bad performance, but I think because you're so much more interested in the world of Pokemon going on around you, that it just sort of leaves the actors with sort of no room to get any personality in besides Ryan Reynolds. And even then, I still wonder if half the appeal of it is just, it's Deadpool doing PG Deadpool jokes coming out of the cutest thing on the planet. But like, Justice Smith is kind of boring and dull in this movie. Like, I didn't really care about his character all that much. I mean, he bonds with Pikachu, but I don't know, it never really worked for me. The girl is getting the real brunt of doing a bad performance. I'll say this, I think the performance could have worked. I laughed at some of her jokes. I think the problem is she's not on screen enough for you to really get into the idea of the character being basically something right out of the anime or an NPC from one of the games. So I don't think it's her fault. I just wish she had some more time and wasn't just explaining things. Ken Watanabe gives a really strong, powerful, emotional performance as he does in everything. But who fucking cares? It's Detective Pikachu. And finally, Bill Nighy, the villain. I kind of want to wrap this up. You know it's him immediately. They do the stupid, who's the villain? It's Bill Nighy. He's very bad in this. Like, insanely bad. And his plot is stupid, and it's weird, and it comes out of left field, and it just wasn't very good, and it kind of took me out of the movie, which sucked because I was so into it for the first two-thirds because, well, it was just Pokemon. It was just the crazy, inventive world of Pokemon brought to life in this really fun, unique way, and I feel like the people who made the movie kind of forgot that they had to have a plot, so that's why it kind of just comes and goes. But it's still a very fun movie. It's a very enjoyable movie. It's a very charming movie. I say give it a shot. I would much rather get films like this than Sonic. So yeah. So anyways, Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. First and foremost, everyone came back to life. Was anyone shocked? Well, I'll say this much. I like the way they phrase it when they're wondering why everyone came back. And I think it was just like Bowman's pride. I like that idea that the last time we'll probably ever hear about Bowman, unless he like has a surprise cameo at the end, is like he wasn't a bad dude at his core. He thought he was doing the right thing, and so in defeat he freed everyone he took. So that was nice. Then we get a new opening. Finally! Hey, remember when we got OPs, like, every time the storyline sort of took a shift or a turn, and the point of a new OP was to, like, show off some cool new visuals, and also give a reflection of the tone of the story? Yeah, they didn't really do that since Zale anyway, so whatever. So, yeah, we get this new OP, and I think this might be my favorite of the three. I really like the song, and I like the visuals that accompany the song. Unlike the last two OPs, which were just sort of based around, I'm Yusaku, I'm cool, this OP sort of shows everybody a bit more vulnerable, a bit more sort of normal. I really like just the shot of Yusaku in the rain. I like kind of the way the new characters are sort of shown off. I like that there's just a shot of Yusaku and Aoi together. Will that actually happen? No, but I pray to God it does. Please, dear God, let this show in its last year finally just give us what we want. Like, let the two have some scenes together, and I think that could be really cool. Why not have it that she finds out who they are early on, and, like, maybe you work in some themes of, like, moving on and letting go of pain and trauma and then learning to really open up to a human being. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but they put that shot of the two of them in there for a reason. And I want to believe there's a good reason. And hey, I like we get the new Borreload fusion, and just in general, it's a real nice OP. It was sort of funny that they didn't change the ED. I actually burst out laughing because so many people were wondering, well, this new ED feels like the finale of the show, and how long is it going to be around? And, like, when I heard this morning that there was a new OP, me and a lot of my friends were like, oh, well, we'll get a new ED too. It's like, nah, we just randomly put this thing in, like, halfway through the last season. So, yeah, that being said, the ED, I think, fits the tone of this episode more than it did the last dozen it's been around for, so there is that. Also, did I kill Yusaku's robot? I hope he did. I think that would be cool. But then we get into what is the main point of the episode, and it's another recap. Oh boy. Alright, so, another recap episode. Look, we haven't gotten one for a while, so as much as I'd love to just go on a 10-minute rant about how I hate these recap episodes and I'd rather they just took the week off, I've done that like 5 times. So, but also, in this episode, I felt like the recap had a sense of purpose, in as much as I like the idea that Homura is just kind of still getting over Flame's death. And especially because I get the impression it's maybe been a couple weeks at the most. But I like that idea that he just kind of is reminiscing on how Flame came into his life and how he changed him. So if we never got a recap episode before, I think that would be a very nice way to do it. The other thing I quite liked about this episode, and this is going to sound weird, I like the fact that they were just sitting around talking. I know that sounds really weird, especially because I'm constantly criticizing the show for the animation quality, and I will continue to do so. But here, I felt like the conversation they were having was interesting enough that I kind of just wanted to hear more. Like, I like the idea of Yusaku and Homura just taking 10 minutes to sit down and just think about what the fuck has happened to our lives and what happens next. Like, what happens next to I? What happens next to artificial intelligence? Where does everything go from here? Sometimes just taking a few minutes, especially when the show is always just thing going on, thing going on, thing going on, just taking a few minutes to sit back and talk, I think is kind of a nice different approach once in a while. Especially when Revolver comes in too, and you have that level of aggression and just Revolver is always the center of a scene he's in. What I mean by that is he's always kind of in the middle of everything. He's always kind of commanding the attention of everybody. He has that very powerful feel to him. And it's always cool to see that that sticks with him even when he's just kind of being a normal dude. So that's very nice there too. Spectre just being there to remind you he's there is a little more dumb than anything else. I always hate it when you just have random background characters like that just in the shot. Like, just save yourself on time and don't even put them there. And heck, like, you could have thrown Aoi in there, too. I know I constantly want to throw Aoi into scenes, but why not? Like, why not just have the person who doesn't have a long history with artificial intelligence? Why not just have the closest thing to a normal person this show has? Why can't she just know who they are? Why? It does not matter. I seriously hope when she inevitably does find out who they are, they treat it like the Far From Home thing where MJ knows who Peter is, that he's Spider-Man. And I would love it if Yusaku's just like, Aoi, there's something I think you have the right to know. And she's like, is it that you're Playmaker? And he's like, how'd you figure it out? It was fucking obvious. I would love it if that's what they do. Again, maybe I'm asking for too much, but I think that's not out of the question. But like, just that idea of we went through some crazy shit and this is what we think about it, I think is kind of a nice idea. Like, I would love for that to happen more. And maybe it will one day. Maybe that's where this is going. I mean, based on what we're seeing of the new season, they definitely seem to want to be going in maybe a more emotional direction. That final shot of what I assume is the new villain and his sidekick just kind of looking at the graves I made for his friends. First up, that's a touching shot. I like that. But just the idea of, like, them, like, what does that mean that they're mourning? I think that could be really interesting. Also, speculation time. I'm just going to do this real quick because we're kind of going along here. I'm going to give two theories on who I think this new guy is. First up, what if he's I turned human? Okay, maybe that's a bit too ridiculous. But think about it, we don't see I as much in this opening. And it is someone standing over their graves. Just watch, that'll get disproven next week. He could also easily just be like the head of Soul Technologies who looks really young for some reason. Maybe he's like Yusaku's brother, although that feels a little overdone. But my other theory is, if y'all remember, Bowman versus Yusaku Duel 2, aka the duel that gave us Update Jammer, aka the reason Salman Grades can pull off a double Borreload attack. In that duel, Bowman said that he was a copy, that he was the original Yusaku, and Yusaku was a copy. Now, if you look, that guy has very similar features to Yusaku. They both have that famous giraffe neck. What if that is Yusaku, or that is a copy of Yusaku? Like, what if that wasn't just a misdirect? What if that's what's going on here? Again, just watch. It'll get disproven next week, but I live in hope. But anyways, so yeah, what did you think about this week's episode? Are you excited for things to come? What do you think about this new bad guy? He's clearly the fucking bad guy. And as for the TCG question of the week, so, it has been revealed that a couple of the Code Talker monster support cards we're missing will be the video game promos for the Switch release of Legacy of the Duelist. Does this piss you off? Because I'm a little annoyed, because I'm not buying that. But, I mean, I guess it's good for getting them. It's weird, because then when are we getting Shooting Code Talker? But, whatever. And tell me what you think about that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe. Sorry this one went a little long. Kind of a lot of interesting things to talk about. Okay, bye.